Hey folks, welcome back. It's Dan Lizette with the Podcast Digest. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out the brand new episode 108. But before we get to that, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to leave some reviews lately. I really appreciate it. And hopefully checking out the Patreon, as we talked about before the beginning of the last episode. It really means a lot. And it's my best hope to get some new things going with the Podcast Digest. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's conversation with Hernan Lopez from Wondery. I found it really intriguing and entertaining and educational. Hernan's a really cool guy, and he's got some really unique ideas about the industry and what he's trying to do with Wondery and with advertising. And if you're just now dropping in and you want to hear more about the new network Wondery, check out the conversation last week for episode 107. But this is episode 108, and my guest this week is a gentleman who I had the pleasure of meeting at Podcast Movement 2016, early July this summer. I met him actually randomly at the bar late one night during the conference upstairs in the hotel at the Hyatt Regency in Chicago. And I recognized him as a Hall of Fame inductee from the prior year Podcast Movement, and knew it was Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio. Now, historically speaking, at least in the recent 6 to 8 years or so, I hadn't been a big gamer. But growing up, games were a huge deal for me, and you'll probably hear that come out in the conversation. And Danny co-host founded Gamertag Radio, which some of you probably have heard of, especially if you're listening to this conversation, but was picked up in 2015 by CBS in the Play It network that they launched. And it was a big news item at that time in 2015 in terms of CBS adding a gaming-based podcast. It was great to talk to Danny. I think you guys will hear that Danny is a great conversationalist and got tons of awesome stories about his amazing ride that really spans longer than probably anyone I've talked to. I mean, he started in internet radio in 2001. So tons of great stories, tons of really interesting insights. And, I think it was a great time. I really enjoyed talking to him, and I hope I get to have the opportunity to do so again in the future. So for your listening pleasure, here it comes, Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio. All right, folks, welcome back. As I said up front, my guest this week, I'm really excited to talk to. He's a Hall of Famer, literally been doing this longer than just about anyone I've talked to. We're really close. It's my honor to welcome to the Podcast Digest, first time ever, Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio. Welcome.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for the invite, man. I know we met during Podcast Movement. We had a great conversation, too.
Yes, we did.
During the conference, so it was awesome, man.
Yeah, my conversation with you that night at the bar in Chicago, I think, is pretty much, an encapsulation of what Podcast Movement was for a lot of folks, right? The idea to put names with faces and kind of have down-to-earth conversations with those people that you might not otherwise have had a chance to. So, yeah, it was really cool, and I really appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, and thanks for the invite, man.
Well, we've got a lot to jump into. I mentioned your long experience, and there's so much ground to cover in terms of what you've accomplished over these many, many years. But before we do, I always like to open these conversations with letting folks maybe know a little bit about yourself personally. So before all the audio phase of your life began, tell folks sort of, what you were like growing up. Where did you grow up? What were you thinking about doing with your life? And, take us up to Gamertag days.
Yeah, I was born in New York City. My parents are from the Dominican Republic, and I also lived in the Dominican Republic for like 4 years too, when I was a very young age and stuff. But living in New York City, I was very involved with the hip hop scene over there. Like, getting into like all these kids around the block break dancing around the 80s and everything. So that's how I got into like hip hop back then, and also seeing the trains passing by. There was a lot of graffiti and stuff, so I really loved the whole culture since back in the days. And then one time my stepdad, he bought a VCR at home, and they were just using that just to play movies. They'll go and rent a movie and stuff, but I was like, man, my mom is watching a lot of like soap operas and stuff during the time that I want to watch some cartoons. Let me figure this thing out to see if I could like start recording, my favorite cartoons while my mom is watching soap operas and stuff. So I figured that out, and then I figured out how to do it automatically too, and everything. I got really into like the whole editing thing because of that too. So, and then my uncle, he bought like a video camera, and we started recording a lot of like parties and get-togethers and stuff with my family, and that also got me into like the whole editing thing too, man. And at the same time, while I was listening to a lot of hip hop music when I was young, I used to also record music through my tape recorder and stuff. All the radio station playing music and stuff, and then eventually, I figured out how to start recording like TV shows using my tape recorder. So I was always visualing like okay, what they're saying, how's the scene and everything and so on. So I got into editing around that time when I was very, very young. So I was like maybe like 9 or 8 years old around there. So yeah, that was really early days.
I got to know about those early days. All right, give me 2 hip-hop artists or groups you're into and 2 cartoons.
2 cartoons. The cartoons, I'll tell you, Voltron. I was really into Voltron. Yeah. Also Thundercats. Those were my favorite cartoon. Hip-hop, Rum DMC. Yeah. I love Rum DMC. And there was a couple more. Rakim is another one. Or Fat Boys. That's another group that I used to like back in the days, yeah.
Oh, the Twist, man. I'm sorry. Fat Boy's the Twist. I know that was the big mass market one, but man, I love that video. All that good stuff.
Nice.
So how did you go from recording TV shows with a tape recorder? Was that like, I need to do something in audio at that point, or did you kind of take a winding road to it?
Nah, when I moved down to Miami in 92, it was like a month after Hurricane Andrew. We were recording a lot of mixtapes because my cousins, they were DJs, and I wanted to become a DJ. I had multiple different DJ names. And then we started doing like a lot of house parties. We formed like a crew of DJs and graffiti artists and breakdancers and everything. And I really got into that stuff. And then eventually we got connected with a lot of people locally from the hip-hop music industry. And then we started having like bigger parties at venues, and then we started getting invites to pirate radio stations in Miami. Because Miami at that time in the 90s, Miami was like the number one place where there was like the most pirate stations here. So we done like a couple shows with friends and stuff, and then I stopped for a while with the whole music thing. Then around the late 90s, there was a show, internet radio show. Was it an internet radio show? Let me see. No, it was actually a TV show that you go with your real player and stream it through a 56K modem. It was called 88 Hip Hop. So that show basically got me, it inspired me to like start my own show online. Like a couple years after that. But that was like the main reason why I really wanted to start the whole like streaming online and recording and everything like that, man. So
were you the type of person that, whether it be music or games or whatever, was it that you were always talking about this stuff with friends when you were at these parties and you just wanted kind of a broader stage for your voice, or what was it that motivated you to say, I need to put my stuff out there?
Yeah, you know what? It was more of just talking to friends. When I used to live in Dominican Republic, we would like debate because around the 90s, it was all about, Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo and everything like that. So just debating with friends, I was like, man, imagine we could have just recorded this and just share with other people, So then in 2001, this game came out for the Sega Dreamcast. It's called Phantasy Star Online. It's an online RPG game where you go pick your class, characters and stuff, and you play with other people, like 4 players online. You do quests and you battle bosses and stuff like that. And the community was so big that I was like, man, let me just talk to the community about the game. We talked about the quests. We talked about like things to do if we get stuck and so on. And also we talked about like rumors and all that stuff. So then when I released our first episode, I uploaded to this website called mp3.com. And at that time, it was only for music artists where they could upload their music. And every time a listener streamed their content or they download their music and stuff, they will get paid through mp3.com. So when I released my first episode, I had so many streams that even major press picked it up. And my first check was $500. And that inspired me to like start my own business. I'm like, man, this is cool, Then eventually mp3.com shut down, and I had to figure out how to like host my content different other places. Like I even had a website through angelfire.com at that time too. Yeah,
GeoCities, they already had.
Yeah, GeoCities. Yeah, everything, man. So, and then eventually, I took a break from the whole internet radio and everything. And then 2005, I was talking to my brother, and I was telling him that I would like to do this again, but now let's start off with just about Xbox. And it just went from there, man. So
during the late '90s, or in your break between Phantasy Star and Gamertag, did you start when you were taking the breaks? Were you thinking, "Oh, I might want to get into this or get into that"? Were you kind of sort of deciding a direction at that point, or?
Yeah. Eventually, like there was 2 shows that I launched around that time. It was PSO Radio for Phantasy Star, and then a couple months after that, in 2001, I was about to launch a show called Game Voice, and then we were thinking about launching a 9/11, 2001, and then the whole 9/11 happened, and I was like, man, I'm not in the mood. I was in New York City when the whole thing happened, So we took a break, and then eventually, around October, November, I heard that Microsoft and Nintendo, they were in town to promote their new consoles at that time in 2001. And then I took my tape recorder and I went to the events, and I started like interviewing people that were in line like to play the games and stuff. And then eventually I was there for 48 hours for the Xbox event. At the end of the event, like the top execs, like the creators of Xbox, surprised all of us with everybody got a free console, a free Xbox, the original Xbox in 2001. And I was like, wow, this is cool, man. So I walked away with my console and stuff. And then a week later, Nintendo was in town, and I did the same thing. I got to interview the people that were there. I got to meet Nintendo employees over there. I got to interview them for the show and everything, and that inspired me to do this even more, and I still have like the original tapes of that.
So at that point, 2001, gaming wasn't new per se. I mean, I guess the gaming really sort of hit in what, 88, 87? When was the original Nintendo? Somewhere in there?
The original Nintendo was 85, but I mean, there was gaming from even in the 70s.
Right. Atari stuff. And
Atari.
There was some PC-based stuff. But I mean, I think the original Nintendo kind of launched it to a new stratosphere, right?
Yeah,
But so, I mean, I guess what I'm thinking is between 88 and, say, 2001, there was something there, right? I imagine there was Nintendo Power. I guess that was an in-house publication. There were GameSpot were they there back then, or in the early 90s maybe?
Let me see. In the 90s, it was a couple magazines. It was the ones that I remember buying the most was EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, and also Game Pro.
Right.
Those were like the most...
I think that's what I was thinking of,
yeah. Those were like the biggest ones in the early 90s. And then eventually, when PlayStation and Sega released their console, they had like a lot of other magazines and stuff. But those are the two were like the most popular ones at that time.
I'm just wondering, you've got these publications, right? The web's starting to become a thing. And you're having these press conferences with Nintendo and Microsoft. How did you feel overwhelmed going into those? Did it feel like I'm rubbing shoulders with the big boys, or what am I doing here? What were you feeling back then?
I'm not gonna lie, it felt like it was just too much for me. Because first of all, as a kid, didn't have a lot of money, and especially around 2001, I was going to college. I was crazy broke all the time, So it was really, really hard for me to get games all the time, because they were very expensive, especially back in the days. It used to be even more expensive.
Right.
There was some games that was like $80, some was like $50. It was just totally random. So yeah, it was a lot for me, man, at that time. But eventually by attending an event and just meeting people, that helped me just to network, and it helped my name to get out there even more. And plus, nobody was even thinking about internet radio in 2001 at all.
Right.
So that got the attention from a lot of people because of that event that I went to, the first one with the Xbox event. They invited me again for their launch event that they had in Times Square. And when I got there, they told me, look, we want you to talk about Xbox to the media, and also you're going to be playing with Bill Gates. And we're going to record that. We're going to take pictures and everything. Just have fun. And one thing that I advise, please don't give your resume to Bill Gates, like joking around. I was like, okay. But it was awesome. It was crazy. Just that alone, I was like, wow. I remember sending that picture to my family, and I'm like, look, I was just playing video games with Bill Gates, with a billionaire. In 2001, they were like, "What?"
Yeah, that's a kind of top this moment, right? I don't know that any of your friends or family going to be able to top that moment. You tell that story in your keynote at Podfest 2016, and there's a link in the show notes, folks, to the YouTube video of Danny's keynote. The whole video is worth watching, but I want you to expand upon another story you told in there, talking about money being tight. You told what I call the $20 story there when you attended one of these conferences. Can you just kind of rehash that moment in time? Maybe would you call that potentially the low point in this process?
Yes, definitely. So there's this conference. It's called E3, where it's been going on for years. Like during the time that I was, buying my magazines, I will see this. Like you get the news there, breaking news, everything. Companies are promoting their products before it comes out. Right. This is where media only goes there, and retailers. Right. So I was like telling my brother, man, if we create this podcast, this radio show, we probably will have a chance to attend E3. Then years later, we created Gamertag Radio. Then we went to LA, and I remember the night before we went to LA, I wasted all my money. I got the flight for myself, my brother. I wasted my money making media kits because nobody had no idea what a podcast is at that time in 2005. So I wasted all my money on that. Then the hotel, we rented a car because I didn't know anything about LA. This is my first time in the city. So by the time we get to LA, I only had $20 in my pocket. $20, man. And I told my brother, like, look, we're going to go to this event, but I only have $20. What we're going to do is eat dollar burgers for the whole week until I get paid Friday.
Yeah.
So basically, from Sunday to Thursday, we were eating burgers for $1 every time, every day. Gee. And the reason why is because it was like to me, it was like, let's take a risk, let's go with it, let's see what happens. And we pass out all the media kit to every single company around that time. And I'm not gonna lie, 80% of them completely ignored us. Maybe it was like a few that were like kind of interesting about the whole Gamertag Radio thing, But what happened? 2006, a year later, we went again to E3, and now I see all these companies contacting us and everything, because what happened when we went to E3, iTunes still haven't launched the podcast section yet. So a month after E3, that's when iTunes announced that they're adding podcasts to their store. And that basically helped to get the name out there even more, and helped people understand a little bit more about podcasts. And it was still a little struggle around that time because a lot of people thought at that time that you needed an iPod in order for you to download podcasts,
Well, I don't think wireless was there, right? Because there wasn't even an iPhone yet. There were no apps. Nope. So it was you were still syncing through a cable.
Exactly. Yep. All that was pre smartphone days, pre-app days.
We jumped ahead a bit, but before I go back in time, Danny, in this timeline, I want to ask one question. Yeah. When you talk about all the flights and all the press kit materials that you self-made, and you're dropping in on your first E3 with the dollar burger venture here, that had to take a certain amount of conviction and belief in what it is that you were doing at that point. Where did that conviction come from?
I think it was just the opportunities that was coming up here and there, like especially what happened with me in 2001 and everything. That was like a little push, like, wow, I was just recording with my tape recorder and I had opportunity to meet Bill Gates, and I got VIP access to like this crazy event. They shut down Times Square and they were treating us, as just like big people, We're not celebrities or anything like that. Man, this is like a pretty cool opportunity. Maybe something big will come out of this. And then, Nintendo, same thing. They were treating us like that too. I was like, wow, this is crazy, And then getting the $500 check from mp3.com just because I'm communicating to my community about PSO, about Phantasy Star Online, like little things like that. And I remember even Sega invited me to one of their launches too, because they sponsor one of the VMA awards back in '99 and stuff. Actually, was it '99 or 2000, around that time? And just little things like that. So motivated me to do this,
You'd had enough a taste of what was possible if you could do this well, that yep. You were committed to the dollar burgers.
Yep. And remember, this is during the time that there was no social media, no smartphones. I was still using a 56K modem. Yeah. There was no expensive mic, no expensive recorder for me. I was using a tape recorder.
So the MySpace promotion wasn't helping you, was, or Friendster back then? Was that?
None of that stuff. None of that stuff. And that's the thing that I tell people this. Like, I feel like a lot of podcasters now are depending too much of, the iTunes stuff, which is cool. I understand that it's good to get your name out there, but I feel that meeting people and just taking that risk and attending events, like that to me is super powerful, and finding your community. Like when we started, I will go locally to the stores and just pass out flyers to like gamers lined up, and that's a way for me to also get the name out there, because I started local and I was searching for my community locally in Miami, Florida, and I did it in New York City too.
That's amazing. I want to talk about community a lot, but before I jumped completely over because the $20 story I really loved from hearing that keynote. But let's go back just a little bit. Gamertag Radio, all right, when it launched, when it started, I want to know sort of, one, how did that come together? Was this, at that time, was that just you, or did you have, people you were working with as well at that point? And what were the original goals? Like, what did you think might happen back in 2005?
All right, so when I launched this originally with my brother. He only lasted like maybe for like a year or two. But also another person that joined us, she was like the third person joining the team. Her name is Anna. We call her Miss Irie. That was her gamer tag online and stuff. And she was the one that basically like designed our website and everything like that. And now, honestly, at that time, it was just more of communicating again with my community. I wasn't thinking about major interviews, none of that, right? So then originally, this is before the whole Skype thing, we used to go online to this game called Halo 2 on the original Xbox. I'll get like 15 people there in our lobby in the game, and I'll record our conversation through that game.
Wow.
Right?
That's ingenious.
The quality was horrible.
Oh yeah,
horrible. But by us doing that, we record our interviews and everything, and then they will tell their friends, "Oh my God, I'm on Gamertag Radio. It's a new show. Check it out." Like, they were even calling it a podcast. They were just calling it an internet radio show. So that's how it got our name out there even more. And the crazy thing happened was, once we released that first episode, 24 hours after that, we got an email from Microsoft, and it was she was at that time she was a community manager. Her name is Krista Trixie. We used to call her Trixie online, And she interviewed us, and she put us on Xbox.com. And then after that, she also posted like a I don't know if it was like a post or something on the. There's a dashboard. Once you turn on like the Xbox, you see like the logo, and then you see like updates from the company, like any details that's going on, like any new games. But when we turned on our Xbox, I see like there was like a whole page about us, like a whole update about Gamertag Radio. I'm like, oh my god, millions of people are actually seeing this from their TV. This is crazy. So we'll say something like, check out the latest interview with Gamertag Radio on Xbox.com or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but
that had to feel really validating, right? That's super validating.
What? That alone was like, oh my god, this is like crazy. A lot of people are going to see this, and they're going to contact us. So what happened? A lot of people were contacting us. Remember, there was no Twitter. There was maybe MySpace. I think I can't remember, but there was no Facebook. So what happened? The word just went around, and then one day, this is like months after that, I heard a couple of my friends went to an event, a private event that was Microsoft and MTV, where they were launching the new console called Xbox 360 that was coming out later that year. So it was like a reveal, basically a show that they had. So I heard about that, and I contacted them. Hey, is it okay? We can invite you to the show. You could tell us how was the event and so on. So the thing is, they recorded that event, and they were going to show it like a week later. I got the interview the next day. So when I recorded that interview, I posted on our site, and this person basically revealed everything about the console design, features, all that stuff. I posted that. That audio only lasted for like maybe 50 minutes, maybe an hour and a half up on our website. I get an email from Microsoft. Oh my God, Danny, please, can you take this out? Can you take this out? And I'm like, sure, I took it out. But what happened? It was already out there. Then I see a lot of the major press picked it up. Mm-hmm. Like it was everywhere. I'm talking about from like CNN, IGN, like major press.
You were scooping it, basically. You were like the rumor mill leaking everything at this point.
Exactly. So I basically leaked the information before they even announced it on MTV. I didn't know. I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I messed up. I was like scared, you know? But people downloaded it.
You met Bill Gates. Bill knows you at this point.
But see what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't planned. I was just like, as a fan of gaming, this was like something cool, and I was excited, you know, and I was excited about the MTV show. And it went around, and our name even got there even bigger. Like it got there even out there, man, because of that interview, you know. So, and I was just interviewing community members. It wasn't no developer or nothing like that, you know. So that's crazy.
I remember that first Xbox, man, fondly. I had it a long time. And I think what the reason it was, you were talking about doing those interviews, at least for me, was because of that chat functionality. It was like the first time ever that all of us back in the 80s playing, you know, the original Nintendo or the original Sega, you'd have your brother, and then you'd try to get friends to come over and play Excite Bike or something like that. It was almost like recreating that. Like there was like a 10-year gap in there where all of us grew up, and it was, I don't know, it didn't seem as easy to get people over or whatever. But then when that came, it was like, you had as many people as you wanted, and you ended up making friends inside those lobbies and always looking for them and meeting them at certain times, and it became its own little world. And it was like the first time that ever really, of course now that's commonplace, but back then that was a big deal.
Oh, hell yeah. And here's the crazy thing. All the people that we had on our show, like that was part of the team since day one, besides my brother, all was because of Xbox Live. So the current calls that I have now, Peter and Paris, they've been doing this now for a while too with me. I met them because of Xbox Live. You know, so it's crazy. Anna, I met her because of Xbox Live. We met through Halo 2. Mandy, we call her Lady Luck. she's not with us anymore, but she got a job in the gaming industry because of GTR and so on. I met her because of Xbox Live, and she came to one of our parties and so on, and all that was because of Xbox Live, which is insane.
Amazing looking back, right, on sort of what that did. And there's probably a lot of stories out there like that, not that have these giant success stories, but in terms of friendships or people that are still in contact with or whatever the case would be. It's amazing it was like the earliest form of social media, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, before all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
totally agree.
We've touched on it a couple different times. I want to really jump in. You've mentioned community. It is huge. And like we were just discussing, gaming took on a whole nother level when community was able to be created so much easier. It wasn't, getting the kids and the friends over after school anymore. It was now all there all the time in front of you. And I know in building your show, this was huge. So I don't want you to completely rehash everything in the keynote because I want people to go watch that keynote. But talk to me about making that the focus. Why?
Because when I used to be a hip hop promoter back in the days, and I was always involved with the whole hip hop scene and everything when I was a kid. And remember, this is like the days where there was no internet and stuff, pre-internet days. Back in the days when hip hop got created in New York City, they would have like block parties, right? And friends would just record the party, like the DJs, and everything, right? They'll record it, and that tape will go around the block, around the city, and then eventually it goes around the world. So hip hop, the reason why hip hop is so big now was because of that. Friends were passing the music to their friends or family and so on. It would just go around. So me thinking, back then I was like, man, let me pass out flyers when we were doing parties. And to me it was like, okay, one flyer equals 10 people. So if I pass out one flyer, that person is probably going to show their friends and so on and so on and so on. So to me, community is your street team. If they really, really love you, they're going to spread the word since day one. If they love your content or their music or whatever it is that you have, right? So when I started Gamertag Radio, I was focusing on just that. I was not thinking about celebrities or who has the most followers, who has the most hits, none of that. I was just talking to people, and finding my community of people that loves the same thing as me, hip hop and video games. So I will pass out flyers, around locally here in Miami, Florida, and that helped also to get the name out there and everything, and I was thinking more about that, when I launched the podcast, Gamertag Radio, I wasn't thinking about money and anything like that, so. And that's what I tell people, man. Find your community, man. They are your tribe. They're the ones going to be talking about you, So that was my focus, man. I think that I made the right move because, look, 12 years later, we're about to hit 12 years now in a couple months. It was the right move, I think, And that's the thing. Like, I feel that with the power of the community, you could achieve a lot of things, man,
Yeah, so. I don't think there's any doubt it was the right move. And the only thing I can think that could compare it outside of politics and religion and stuff like that is maybe the never-ending battle of like iOS versus Android. But that type of mentality, I think, lives in the video game community, right? Because you've got a lot of sort of camp patronage between the major consoles, and there's a lot of passion and people talking about what they prefer and what they don't and why they do and so on and so forth. And that just breeds for a two-way communication between host and audience.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, still to this day we talk about that on our podcast.
Yeah, and
because there's people that are like, oh, I'm Sony, oh no, I'm Nintendo, or I'm Xbox, and I mean it's cool that it creates debates. So we have fun with this, But the thing that bothers me is when people are taking this way too serious.
And those people are out there.
Yeah, oh, trust me. We see this all, and we talk about it on the show. Like, it gets a little bit creepy when you send like 20 or 30 messages in less than 30 minutes just because I bought a system that you don't like or a game that you don't like. I just find that super strange. It's super strange.
Well, that was one of my questions, is that you guys chose not to necessarily align with one particular console or another. And I know that you guys, often will play one more than the other, and you guys don't hide that fact and what have you. But you guys cover pretty much industry wide, right?
Yeah, everything from PC, handheld. We don't do much mobile, but we're more like consoles and PC and stuff like that. But see, originally when I started the show, it was all Xbox, and then a couple of years later, I was like, man, why? Let's talk about everything. This is the gaming community. This is the gaming industry. Let's do this, man. So, and it worked out that way. So.
You talked about some of the co-hosts and some of the people and the co-hosts, and I've not been a listener. I became a listener after meeting you, and what was ironic, and I'll probably attribute it to you. So when we spoke in July, I didn't have a current gen. Now I do. I've got an Xbox One. I finally took the leap, and I had an active gold membership that I wasn't even using, and I saw WWE 2K16 came up for free, and I'm like, that's going to basically pay for it right there. So let me just do that.
I'm a huge wrestling fan too. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Well, I think all video game fans are. Should be.
Yeah.
But so I've been listening for, I don't know, the last 2 months or so, or what have you. But I can already tell the rapport between you is phenomenal. You guys will bat a topic back and forth all the time, and it seems like you guys have a great. I say this all the time. People, I believe, come to a podcast for the content, but they stay for the hosts. And I think if people didn't like the two or three of you, depending on the episode and availability or whatever, they wouldn't keep listening. How's this relationship been over the years working with these guys?
They're like my brothers, man. I think that's super important to know the hosts, to hang out with them, to work together, And I think that, I've been doing this longer than them, but they also motivate me to become a better podcaster. Paris, the way how I met him was, over 11 years ago, I got invited to an event. I went to Seattle. And Microsoft invited me to their headquarters, and I went there, and I got to see a game and stuff that was EA and Microsoft. And then Microsoft interviewed me, and a friend of mine too. His name is Chris. He was podcasting at that time, and I believe like a week or so, they posted that video online, and Paris was home, and he got to see that video, and he told me every day, man, all the time. I mean, that moment inspired him to start his own podcast. So he created his own podcast called Uncle Gamer, and then we were like always networking and helping each other out and so on. And then I think after a while, I think one of his co-hosts got a job in the gaming industry. So Paris was doing this by himself, and he stopped because like to him it wasn't fun anymore. So he took a break for like a year or two. And then I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I hit him up, and I was like, "Yo, let's do this. I would love to have you on the show, man. Like to be part of the crew, man. God, I've known you for a very long time, and I trust you and everything." And he was like, "Okay, I'll do it, but it's not gonna be 100%. Like I'm not gonna be on all the time. Like, come on, let's do this, man." And he joined, and look, he records every week.
He's never left.
Never left. And the reason is, and he tells me, the reason why that happened is because he's having fun again, and he knows us, Another person, too, that is part of the crew, his name is Peter. We call him P-Rock. His wife used to work with me at Discovery Channel. And she was like, "Oh, you gonna have a get together?" Because he heard I was gonna have like a party at my house and so on for Guitar Hero. It was coming out like in a week or two. I got it early, so like, yeah, sure, come to the house. And she was telling me, "Oh, my boyfriend, he's really into gaming." So they get there to my house, and I did an interview with him because he was into the whole esports tournaments and stuff. He had a crew that would go and compete and stuff. So, so we did an interview. We became good friends and everything. And then he was always hitting me up every time. "Hey, I would love to help you guys out. Like, tell me what I could do. Like, I'll do anything, man." Like, he was hitting me up. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So then one day, EA invited me to go to one of their events, and I couldn't attend. And I hit up Pete. I was like, Pete, let me ask you, man, would you like to go to San Francisco to cover an event and stuff? And he's like, yeah, sure. What I have to do? I'm like, don't worry, everything is paid. You just got to go there and record interviews and send it to me for the podcast. He was like, okay. He never recorded an interview before. This is like his first time. He went there super nervous, and that was like the major test. Like something was telling me, give him an opportunity, and I did, and boom, he did it, and it was perfect, man. Super perfect. And then after that, we just became good friends, man. Close, you know. So we talk every day, man. Every day.
You've got the the roster set now, and I know there's additional people behind the scenes and what have you, but in terms of the on air folks, man, you guys have got this formula down, I think, and it's a wonderful listen, folks. If any of you are even mildly interested or into gaming, it's an awesome listen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, check it out. It's only right now. It's only us three. We used to have a lot more staff members like that were part of the team and stuff, but right now this is it. Three of us only. That's it. Yeah.
Broad shoulders.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to talk about this week. Folks are going to hear something special this week. But before we talk about that, I think we have to talk about 2015. That seemed to be like an extra huge year for you and Gamertag Radio. There's probably a lot more, but I know of two big things that happened there.
Okay.
Academy of Podcasters Hall of Fame induction, as well as the move to CBS and Play It. Huge monumental things I can imagine for you and your career and the show's progression and so on and so forth. Let's start with the Academy of Podcasters, the Hall of Fame induction at Podcast Movement 2015. Mm-hmm. How did you hear about this, and what were your thoughts when you first heard it?
I met one of their co-founders of Podcast Movement. His name is Jared Easley. He has a meetup group here in South Florida of podcasters. So I was like, man, let me just go over there one day and just meet other podcasters because I would like to meet them. You know, locally here in Miami, it's pretty cool to see that. You know, so I remember this was like our ninth year of Gamertag Radio. So I get there, I sit down, and I see this group of people sitting down and stuff. And Jared was like, all right, guys, I want you guys to introduce yourself. So I was the last person, and I said, oh, I've been doing this close to 10 years now with the podcast. And everybody looked at me like, oh my God, we just started. Some people just doing it like for a year or two and everything.
Right.
And Jared was like amazed. He's like, hey, I would like for you to give an advice. Can you do a presentation? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I did a presentation about Gamertag Radio. This is my first time actually speaking to a group of people about GTR and stuff. Because, people in the gaming community know us, but like podcasters, they really don't know us, right? So when I did that, it got attention from a lot of people. Like I told them everything from like Bill Gates or tapes, everything. And I think that got the word out to the people that are involved with the podcast movement. And then I believe on our 10th anniversary, I got a call that I was going to get inducted to the Podcast Hall of Fame. And I got really emotional, super emotional. I was like, yo, I can't believe this. Like, this is crazy. So then months later, I got to see the list of people that were getting inducted too. I was like, wait a minute, Leo Laporte is getting inducted. And oh my God, like,
did you go back and ask him, are you sure? Wait, just double checking.
Yeah. It was just a lot of well-known, like well-known people in the podcast community that also were getting inducted too, you know. And yeah, that was just crazy. It was crazy. And and it was like a perfect time too, because it was just like our 10th anniversary. A lot of things was going on that year. It was just like insane, man. You know, so when I got to the awards, the one thing I wanted to do, because community was my focus from the beginning. I wanted to invite listeners locally from Dallas or Fort Worth. I want to go to attend the awards with them and walk the red carpet, take pictures. I want them to learn about the podcast industry, everything about podcasting. And we sat in the front row at the awards. And that was like a special moment, man. Like I got that award, And the first people that I thanked was my community, our listeners, before I said thank you to my family and friends and so on, I gave them a shout out, my community, because they're the ones that, they've been there when I only had $20 when I was in LA. They've been there in the good times, bad times, and that's special to me, man, and yeah.
What your acceptance speech, induction speech is on YouTube as well. Obviously a super emotional time. What was the emotions there? What made it so special to you?
It was just like a lot of people, they don't know how it is behind the scenes, like the stuff that I went through and stuff. They know the, like, wow, he's getting all this stuff and money, and they know that stuff, but they don't know the struggle. They don't know the things that I've been through, behind the scenes and stuff. Like, there was time that I almost quit. Like, it was just like, it was just a very stressful time. And just seeing it together, like, man, like, dreams do come true, man. Us getting signed with CBS and so on, like, all that was just happening at the same time. And plus, I was also thinking about my friend that contacted us 24 hours after our first episode, that she was battling cancer at that time too. Now she's cancer free. I was thinking about her. I was thinking about, my fiance, that she was there from day one. She got my first microphone and mixer for my birthday, because she was basically pushing me even more to do this podcasting thing, So just that, and seeing my listeners too, like at the front row, that got me. I got really, really emotional, man. So it's crazy.
Did it feel like obviously we're going to talk about CBS here in just a second, but did it feel, at least for yourself personally, a validation or a sense of culmination in sort of looking back at all that work and all those dollar burgers that kind of just made it all like, I've arrived?
Yeah, man, because you know what? The time that I was doing this whole hip hop thing, this whole industry thing, I used to be a promoter. I told a lot of people, man, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm gonna do this podcasting thing. All about video games. And a lot of people were like, "Really? You're doing video game stuff?
Right.
Like, wow, you're really in the 20s. What's wrong with you, man?" Like,
right.
A lot of people didn't believe in me,
Right.
But now everybody's okay. Now everybody's cool. Like, oh, wow. But that's the thing, man. Like, it's just that. Like, I never gave up. I kept on doing my thing. At the same time, I was having fun, man. Having fun with my crew, my peoples, man. Like, they're family to me too, man. And at the same time, just traveling and getting all these opportunities, man. And it was because that one moment, man, that I just pressed record and just upload it to my website through a 56K modem, my first episode ever.
Yeah.
That took hours to upload.
Yeah.
Like, just that alone, it was all worth it, man. Worth it, and like, for those who are listening to this, don't worry about the money. That comes later. Focus on just having fun and meeting your community, man. It doesn't matter if it's video games or not. Just don't think about download numbers, none of that, and be yourself. Because the worst thing you could do is copy someone just because they're successful. Like, oh, me copy their name and copy this and copy that. It's, to me, when there's people that are unique and doing their own thing, I think that helps the podcast industry, our community. It helps, man. And also, if somebody's successful and they're doing good, instead of hating, congratulate them. And that's also going to open the doors for everybody else out there too, man. So that's it for me. Like, that alone was like all worth it, man.
Yeah, it's all gravy from that point. That's for sure. I can imagine that had to be just an amazing moment, and you see that in your acceptance speech.
I want to. By the way, I forgot to mention this real quick. I had a whole speech, and I was trying to hold my tears. I completely skipped that whole speech, and I was just saying things without even knowing. Like, I was just all over the place. So Yeah, that happened to me there.
Oh, did you forget to thank somebody?
Yeah, there was a couple people I forgot to thank. Yeah, and I hit them up after the awards.
Kicking yourself.
Yeah, I mean the most important ones. Yes, I thanked them, but it was just a couple more people that I wanted to thank at that time too, like Lipson, Rob, LC, Crystal. Like they were very supportive of Gamertag Radio too, and I told them they were like, don't worry, man, we know.
That's okay. Rob got in this year, and I don't think he thanked you.
No, but see, like I was super happy to see Rob getting man, because he is a person that really supports this podcast thing, man, like in the community. So that's good, and I hope to see other people too in the future, man, like Rob Greenlee. He's like he was like doing the same thing as me back in the days with real audio and all that stuff, before MP3s. Like, people like that. Those are the ones that a lot of people don't know.
Right.
But they know only the successful people from now. I love hip hop, but I do my research, man. I go back to the archives and learn about like those that paved the way, man. And I feel like we should do the same thing with podcasts, man. We can't forget those that contribute and made moves for us to do this thing now.
Yeah, that dealt with MP3.com and the 56K modems when it wasn't the cool, hip, easy thing to do, and it took work. It took hours of uploading. It took, recording off live game lobbies on Xbox, when it was a much harder process than it is today. Yeah. We touched on it a little bit, Danny, and I do want to talk about it because speaking of kind of hitting an all-time accomplishment, the move to CBS and Play It was huge. Prior to that, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Gamertag Radio strictly independent?
Yeah, we still independent still. We just have a distribution deal with CBS.
That's what I mean. There was no association with anything else.
Nope. No. It was just us, strictly independent for basically 9 years. We were like about to hit the 10th anniversary, and that's when we made the announcement a week before our 10th anniversary that we were signing a deal with CBS Radio.
So how did this all come about?
Wow, long story in this one, but I'm going to keep it short in this one. So one day I was on Twitter, and we were I think covering stuff that was going on for CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So there was an event there of CBS that they were launching a podcast network called Play.it. So I'm checking online. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I see Wyclef performing, and I see all the podcasters as part of the network, and they posted the link. Check out the website. So I go to the website, and I noticed that there was no gaming stuff. There were no gaming shows at all. It was all business and sports and a bunch of other radio stations like that they had their own podcast there and everything. And I think Taz also, excuse me, Taz also was there, part of the network. And I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'm like, wow, I see sports, I see tech, but there's no video games. So I was joking around on Twitter. I'm like, yo, what's the video game stuff, man? Like, hey, if you want, check us out. Been around for 9 years, or actually 10 years and stuff, and let us know what you think. So I was like, he's not gonna email. They're not gonna email us back. I get a reply.
Are you kidding me? This whole process started with a tweet.
Oh, tweet!
Wow!
A tweet!
That is amazing.
Like, so then I get a DM. Send me your stats and tell us your bio about you guys.
Right.
So I sent everything. I'm talking about we have a crazy resume, like people that have been on our show, media outlets that talked about us, everything, download numbers, everything. A couple weeks passed, and then I believe iTunes featured us on the front page for the first time in 10 years. First time ever. They put us on the front page, and we were right next to Serial. When I got to see that, I was like, talking to the crew, like, oh, man, this is crazy. Look, front page, whatever. This is a big accomplishment. That this has never happened to us, ever. Minutes later, I get an email from some CVS. Let's talk. So we had a conference call that same day, and we just talked everything. Like, they They told us everything about the network, and yeah, eventually we, they sent us papers, we had lawyers, everything, the whole nine, and boom, we signed a deal with them. And the reason why I wanted to make that move was because, we've been doing so many things independently. I feel like there was something else could push us even further,
Yeah.
And this was like the moment for us, man. I was like, look, this is a perfect time. 10th anniversary, let's do this. And my crew and I, we all agreed, and we made it happen, man. And it was the best move we made so
I'll
far.
tell you, that was after I started this show in September 2014, and I mentioned to you earlier, I just got the Xbox One, so I wasn't even gaming then. But when this move happened, I saw it. I was monitoring, I always monitor industry news and kind of try to keep abreast of what's going on. This was a huge deal when you guys joined, right? This was, it almost seemed like simultaneously the growth of Gamertag Radio, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you've seen this differently, has kind of paralleled with the whole play it stuff on YouTube. Right, that there's so many people now watching gaming that people are just trying to look to consume this information and conversation about it at the same time. And CBS recognized that and said, we want a piece of the biggest and best game show out there, and we need to have Gamertag a part of us because of this explosion that seems to be going on nowadays. Does that sound right, or am I?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I think it was more of I probably in the business side. Yes, they probably got to see that, but at the same time, is our resume like
right.
it? Like, honestly, I know people might see this YouTube presentation of Podfest. That's just a small taste of that about us. Like, if people
it's on the website.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
But when people see everything there's stuff that I probably can't remember now, that happened to us throughout the years. Just that alone, it's like big. Like, we contacted a lot of companies in the past, networks, to see if they'll give us an opportunity, and everybody shut us down. Everybody. I'm not going to mention no names, but they didn't even bother to reply back. They were like, when you have enough downloads numbers, hit us up. Like, stuff like that. I'm like, wow, like, what else do we need to do? And I felt happy that, CBS, they believed in us since the day that I hit that tweet.
Yeah, that's
they
amazing.
believed in us. They were like, man, you know what? I think this is good. And they see the results, man. They see the results, Just last week, there was a podcast up front in New York City where, all the networks are promoting, all their shows to future advertisers, right? Potential advertisers. And, CBS was there, NPR, Midrow. There was a bunch of celebrities there. Shaq, Podcast One. Everybody was there. And CBS did a presentation. Of course, I talked about, like, Amber Rose and my friends Dream Champs, DJ EFN and Nori, their hip-hop podcast and stuff. They're one of the top shows from the network, too, and so on. They also talked about us at the presentation. They show our logo and everything, and it's because they believe in us. They know they see it. They see it. And yeah, I'm happy. They're happy. So, and we're really, really cool. We always go. Like, when I go to New York, I always visit, the team, and we hang out and we talk, and they're extremely happy about us joining. Play it.
Yeah,
so.
It's an awesome combination of so many things that, we talked about you and the hosts and kind of the stuff that you guys have going on with the interaction. And you mentioned earlier some of the interviews, and yeah, just scrolling through the back catalog, you can see, especially inside the gaming world. I don't know that I bet you guys could probably put your interview log up against those large publications, print or online, and it probably matches or exceeds, a lot of them in terms of, obviously an informative, listening, entertaining experience that websites just can't offer. And I'm sure that's not hurting you guys in terms of exposure in the industry.
Yeah.
That's sort of my last question, Danny. In terms of the industry, you guys must feel, maybe not, I don't know, but feel as if that you guys have somewhat of a significant place now, up there with those major publications and review sites and so on and so forth. Has that kind of sunk in with the three of you, or do you feel sort of a sense of responsibility to your community as sort of, what could be the prime delivery mechanism of news and commentary that your audience is getting?
Yeah, man, because here's the thing. Besides the whole major media and everything, this past E3, my friends, I don't know if you heard about this. I'm part of a documentary called The Messengers, a podcast documentary, which is a focus on a couple of podcasters. I'm one of them, and they were following me the whole time. They came to Miami. They also followed me at LA to E3, and we took Neil. He's one of the filmmakers. We took him to industry party that was very private. Not that many people could get invited to this. So I told him, I'm going to get you in so you can see the reaction of people that from the industry, journalists and execs and everybody from the gaming industry. You see how they love us, man. And after he left that party, he was like, wow, Danny, the one thing I noticed about that whole party is how much respect you guys have, man. And I told him, I was like, look, man, money comes and goes, but one thing that's super important to me, man, of course, with the whole community thing and everything, is also the respect that we have, man, from a lot of people from the gaming industry. And that was because we show people that, yeah, we could do the same as the major media sites, but we also could do even more or better. We're not a multi-million-dollar company, and we could achieve this too, man. By just sitting down, recording, having a conversation, I bet it's going to go around. And we do that, and our listeners are spreading the word to other media outlets out there. That even has to do with gaming, and they pick it up. And it's something that's not even planned. And it's because we sit down, have a great conversation, we're having a good time. And sometimes the people that we're interviewing, they feel comfortable. And the question that we're asking is totally different. They're like, man, I like this, man. So they're going to open up, and they feel like they could trust us, man.
Right.
So that's what we're really good at, man. And Neil, while he was filming that, I also took him to one of the booth that he got to see us interviewing one of the execs from Xbox. And he was like, man, these guys are really open. They say things to you guys that not even the major media gets, And it's because of that, is building that relationship and meeting people, throughout the years. And that helped us, man.
Yeah, I'll layer another word on respect on top of that, and that's reputation. I think you guys have long established this reputation now of trust with the execs, of trust with the community, of trust of the listeners that know what you guys are going to provide to them, and either treat an interviewee or do your listeners justice. And I think that's to your credit, and you've built that over a long period of time. And this week, people can tune in for episode 600. Danny, 600 episodes. How does that feel?
Insane. It's crazy. I know we have a lot more than 600 because when we go to E3, we post a lot of multiple episodes, but I don't count that as episodes,
Right.
But our official 600 episode, it is insane. It just I was sitting at home thinking about it, and it's crazy. It's insane. It's insane. I'm excited, and you know what? Like now, doing this for so long, I feel that we're even better now than before. I'm having so much fun with this, man. And yeah, we're getting paid and stuff. Like I tell people, man, look, we're getting paid. It's all good, but money comes and goes, man. All this, meeting you, going to podcast movie, getting the award, meeting our community, and doing our parties throughout the years, like that to me is more important to me, man, than money. I think that by doing all this, I see ourselves doing this for a very, very long time, man. From now, man. So I'm having fun, man. I love this, man.
That's awesome. So, well, I'm with you. Money doesn't matter, right? How many of us have ever had a job they hated, right? It's still a job. They still paid you. But if you hate it, it doesn't matter what you're being paid, Yeah. But if you can find something you love and be paid, that's the 1-2 punch that gets it done. That's for sure. And
it's just an experience too, man. Like not only me, but my crew, P in Paris, we've all been traveling all around the world because companies, they see that we're very influential in the gaming community. So they're like, man, I want you to come to our studio, check out our game, tell us if our game is good or not, what changes we should make, and interview us. We want to also record and so you could get this content to your community. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So we've been to Sweden. Last year, went to Sweden, UK, been to all over the US, and it's because of that, man. Because of that, the whole networking thing, man. And the power of the community too, man. So
it's because of PSO radio. That's really what it's all.
That too. Thank you, Sega Dreamcast 56K modem. Thank you so much.
That's where it all started.
Real Audio too. I gotta shout out to Real Audio. Great quality back then. And my tape recorder.
And the tape recorder. And I appreciate the tape recorder because I think I shared this a long, long time ago, but I too was a tape recorder guy, except for me, it was always about sports. I still have tapes, Danny, of my probably 11 or 12-year-old self sitting in front of my 13-inch bedroom television watching NFL football with a boombox that had a record button, and I would record as if I was the announcer to the old football game. And I still have those tapes.
That's all. You should play that, man, on your podcast.
It's buried in a box in the attic somewhere, but I have it.
Yeah, you should definitely do that, man, because wow, that is insane, man.
Power of the tape recorder, right?
Power of the tape recorder, man. Yeah, man, it's crazy. I still have all my tapes. Like, I still have them there. I have all my VHS tapes too. I keep that, man. So every time I do a presentation, I put a little something here and there so people could see visually, like, have an idea. And also I have my uncle's first video camera from back in the 80s. Wow. I also bring that to different events, and I show people look, this is the camera that basically inspired me to record and edit, so I have all that stuff.
I want to wrap this up and be respectful of your time, but we talked about old media, and I want you to tell really quickly the old media story with your dad.
Oh my God, yeah, this is pretty fun. So yeah, last year was insane, 10-year anniversary, Podcast Hall of Fame, just going around. Miami Herald comes and interviewed me. So I was telling my dad the next day, I was like, "Pa, go to the store. Once the newspaper comes out, they're gonna have, they can have a picture of me, and they talked about my podcast and everything. I don't know when it's coming out, but just be on the lookout." He's like, "Oh, okay." So he goes to the store. So I think the supermarket locally in Miami, and he gets to see the newspaper that I'm in the front page of the newspaper of Miami Herald, and he buys it, he reads it, he calls me crying and stuff, and he's like, "Danny, I don't know what you do, but I'm super proud of you, man. Super proud of you." And I'm like, oh my God, I was dying.
It's just the perfect parent reaction.
Yeah, and you know what? They interview him too for the documentary, and he doesn't get it. He still doesn't get it, man.
He doesn't get it.
But it's awesome,
Does he have a smartphone? Awesome. Can you subscribe on his phone, or is he still on the flip phone days?
No, he has a smartphone. Oh, okay. He's the craziest thing. He uses TuneIn Radio to listen to live shows from Dominican Republic and New York City, because he's a taxi driver, so he's always driving and listening to. And I'm like, "Pa, we're in."
We're in TuneIn
Radio. He's like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, I'm in TuneIn. You use TuneIn Radio."
6, 7, 8 years we've been in there now, Dad.
Yes. Yeah, very, very quick. A quick tip for those that are listening. Like right now, look, perfect example. My dad doesn't know what a podcast is, and there's a lot of other people too. They're probably like, "What is a podcast? What is that? What is that?" But I bet 100%, maybe 99.9% of the people know what an app is because of their smartphone. So whenever you get the chance, if you're with Lipson or not, do some research, because they also create apps. So we did that, and that helped out a lot, because I told people, look, we have a podcast. What is it? Don't worry, we have an app here. Download it.
Exactly.
It helps. It helps to get your podcast out there, and at the same time, you're building your brand. You're building your name instead of promoting something else, another app.
Yep.
So that's a good tip for you guys.
There you go. There's a ton of them throughout this whole conversation, really. Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio, thank you so much for taking the time to join me, man.
Thanks for the invite, man. Been having a blast and reminisce through the struggles and everything.
Take a minute, tell people where they can find this awesome stuff if they want to check more of it out.
Yeah, go to gamertagradio.com or plate.it/gamertag. You can find us there, or TuneIn Radio, of course. Papi, that's for you, Pop. TuneIn Radio, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, we're everywhere. Just look up Gamertag Radio, we're there. And you can follow me, Godfrey, at Twitter, or Gamertag Radio. You can find me there too. So
links will be in the show notes, folks. As always, Danny, thanks again for the time, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man.
Folks, that'll do it for episode 108 of the Podcast Digest. Hope you enjoyed. Until next week, my name's Dan Lizette, and I will talk to you then.
Thank you for listening to the Podcast Digest. You can follow the show on Twitter at PodDigest. Like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/The Podcast Digest. Email the show feedback at thepodcastdigest@gmail.com. And you can find all the previous episodes and exclusive blog entries at the show's website, thepodcastdigest.info.